to today's webinar. My name is Scott Miszak, Technical Specialist here for ATG USA. Today's webinar, we're going to talk about the CTC software, their CIM Manager Suite. So we'll go ahead and get started. Today's agenda, we're going to look at the main goal, explore the benefits of the CIM Manager Suite to help streamline the setup process of template building. The topics we're going to cover, we're going to talk about the Survey Template Manager. We're going to look at how we can import and export out description key sets for quick editing, as well as the figure prefix database. We'll look at the template tracker, how we can see what styles are being used for layers, text styles, dimension styles. And then we're going to go ahead and look at the layer boss. We're going to look at object layers, so we know anytime you build a surface in Civil 3D, we can tell it to automatically go to this layer. Well, that's your object layer. So we'll look at that, how we can export out your current settings, make adjustments, re-import it back in, and then we'll also look at drawing layers. So the CIM Manager Suite, it's designed for all Civil 3D users supporting production teams. So this suite isn't designed for the end user, it's designed for the person in charge of all those end users. The person in charge of upkeeping your template. That's what we're after. For the target audience of the Manager Suite is the person in charge of the upkeep of your template. So the tools that we'll be looking at, we'll see the Survey Template Manager. We got 4 in there. We got 1 in the template tracker, and then we have 4 in the layer boss. So these are the tools that we're going to go over today. So let's start with the Survey Template Manager. It greatly improves the survey template management through the automated configuration of the description key set and figure prefix database. What this means is now I don't have to go into my description key set and say create new or copy from existing. I can actually control my description key set from an Excel spreadsheet. So first tool is the Extractor. What this does is it extracts out the existing description key set, or it'll actually extract out a blank template. So the dialog box is pretty straightforward. It will give you a list of any description key set that's in the current and active drawing. And in this case, there's the Civil 3D one, which, hey, that's out of the box. Or I can actually extract out an Excel template. So if I extract out the existing, this is one of the ATG ones, or CTC description key sets. It's the code, the point style, the block, the point label style, the format, layer, everything that's in the description key set except for the ability of what block. So it's going to read the point style, and if the point style is actually reading a block instead of just the basic marker, it will actually list the block name in there also. So what that allows me to do is I can now manipulate this, and maybe I want the error relief valve, instead of using the ARV block, I wanted to use the ARV2 block. So I could just quickly come into that cell and make that change. Well, I can do that with a bunch of the cells to update my description key set a little bit easier than having to go into the actual description key set and then click into each cell. And then if I extract out a blank template, it gives me the exact same columns, but what it actually will do is those check yes or no's, they're actually predetermined that you can only put in yes or no. So it eliminated the problem of, well, is it all capital letters? Is it all lowercase letters? Is only the first letter capitalized? What is the situation? And of course, we wanted to make sure that someone didn't put in 5 in a yes or no column. Obviously, that would cause problems when it came back into Civil 3D. So if there is a column that is specific to a yes or no, or potentially a parameter, you will get just those options. So the fixed scale parameter columns will give you parameter 1 through 9, just like you do inside the description key set. So that's the Extractor. What it does is it takes out your existing, or it'll start you off with a blank template, but it gives you all the columns that you will need to build your description key set. And in this case, actually point styles and point label styles also. So the next tool is the description key set creator. It basically will create a brand new description key set for you, or it will actually sync to an existing description key set from that Excel file. It, as we saw in those last two spreadsheets, it will also include the point style and the point label style, and we see that right here in the bottom left corner of that dialog box that it says include point styles or point label styles. So I can actually build a point style or a point label style from scratch inside this spreadsheet. So within the creator, it's select your Excel file. So you usually use one from the existing description key set or from that template, but everything's filled out. And at that point, you have the ability to say create a new description key set or sync to a new one or sync to an existing one. And if I do sync, it's sync or add. What this will mean is if I had 50 codes and now I've added 5 new codes but deleted 6 codes, it will actually read and I will add 5, I will delete 6, and I will have 44 codes unchanged. So it will read and it will add or subtract based off of that Excel file. So that Excel file that we're building here, it is the law. What's inside the Excel file goes. Makes it really nice. So what I have here is if I synced to an existing description key set, you can see that it added 4 new codes. Scott, Miszak, ATG USA are my 4 new codes. They're very unique codes in there. But the point style is the same. The block name's the same. Everything else is the same. I see the 44 codes that were never changed. And then I actually see 7 codes in here that were deleted because I actually went in and added a break, a light, and a wall inside this drawing that I had. So because they weren't in the Excel file, they were actually removed from my description key set. So this would be something that I would say instead of execute, maybe I would go back and make sure that I added the break, the light, and the wall to my Excel file. So when I do execute it, they get moved to the unchanged codes and not the deleted codes. But you will see a breakdown based off of new codes, change codes, unchanged codes, and deleted codes. So if I would have just gone through and changed the point label style on one, it would have been a changed code, not a new code. Export figure prefix database. It's the exact same thing as the description key set, but it is going to be for your figure prefix database. So you have the ability to see what figure prefix databases are available within your default settings or your current settings within Civil 3D, and I have some for a couple clients here: CTCs, E.G. Rudd, Grafe, Sample, Shive Hattery, and then WizDot. Or again, I can extract out an Excel template. The exact same thing as the description key set. Next tool is the create edit prefix database. So just like creating a new description key set, I can do the exact same thing with the figure prefix database. Select the Excel file that represents the figure prefix database, and I can either create a brand new one with it, or I can actually sync it to an existing figure prefix database. And if I sync it, I have the ability to say sync or add. And if it's sync, again, if there's 5 missing and there's 5 new ones, it's going to delete 5, but it's going to add 5. If I just say add, what it'll do is it'll look at your Excel file, and if there's just 5 new ones, it will just add those 5 to your existing figure prefix database. It won't delete anything that didn't match. And then just like the description key set where I can add point styles and point label styles, I can actually include survey figure line styles in there. So here is an example of the figure prefix database report. New codes, change codes, unchanged codes. I just had 24 codes in there for edge of bit, building, communication lines, concrete, back of curb. Is it a break line, yes or no? Lot line, yes or no? What layer, what style, what site? If I would have made changes, they would have fallen into the proper categories. Template tracker. Template tracker is an easy way to track down what layers are being used by a style. Have we ever had to go into a drawing and say, hey, delete out layer 5, and it says, sorry, you can't delete this layer because it's either layer 0, def points or there's something on that layer. Well, you know it's not 0 and it's not def points because it's called layer 5, unless someone went in and actually renamed layer 0 to become layer 5, which never happens. But then you've isolated that layer and you say erase all and nothing is deleted, so there's nothing on there. Well, the reason you can't delete it is because there's a style typically that's referencing that layer, and because it's referencing it, even though we're not currently using that style, but the template is, you can't delete out that layer. So that's some of the things that you can do with that. And we see in this example that the C prop bearing layer, it's actually using these 5 styles in that are being referenced into that layer. So I cannot delete out this layer because of these 5 styles. Even though there's nothing in my drawing currently on that layer, I cannot delete out that layer because of these 5 styles. I have the ability within this that when I click on a style, I can swap out the layer, I can edit the style layers, or I can actually just purge out the style. Once I get this empty, I have the ability to actually delete out that layer. And this is really key because there's so many times that you build your new template for 2019 that you use your 2017 template, but through CAD meetings, you've decided that, hey, we're going to eliminate these 6 layers and we're going to create these 3 new ones. Well, you go to try to delete those 6 layers and you can't. So just through basic CAD management and upkeep, we need to be able to eliminate any of the dead weight when it comes to a template. And layers can be a lot of dead weight if you have 500 layers in there, but you only need 350. So we need to get rid of those 150. You might not be able to delete out those 150 because of a style being used, or a text style, dimension style, or multi-leader style. Layer boss. Easily manage all layer properties from an external spreadsheet allowing faster template management. What this means is I have those 500 layers, I only need 350. If I haven't built up any styles yet, I can use an Excel file and I can just have that Excel file have those 350 layers in there, and I can run the layer management and it will delete out the 150 that I don't need. Now, of course, if there's a style referencing it, it won't delete it out, but you're still able to mass delete 100 of those layers. So now you just have the 50, which now I'll use the template tracker and find out why I can't delete out those 50 layers. And from there, I'm able to streamline my template based off of layers on there. So the first one is export object layers. This is what I mentioned at the start of the webinar, was the ability to, anytime I create a surface, it falls on this layer. Anytime I create an alignment, it falls on this layer. It's in your drawing settings on the object layer tab. This just says export out your object layers from the current drawing. You only have one, so that's what you get. And it will create it into an Excel file. Object 2 is set object layers. Now I have that Excel file, I can actually come through and make my updates to what layer a surface is falling on. Or is it going to have a prefix or is it going to have a suffix? Am I going to automatically create new layers every time I build a new surface or a new alignment or profile? This is what I can do in that Excel file, is make those adjustments and then come in and say browse. And what it will do is it will overwrite my existing settings to match the Excel file. Again, the Excel file is the law. Whatever the Excel file says, when you run the tool, when you apply the tool, it's going to implement that into your current settings. The next one is export out drawing layers. I can do just the current drawing. I can do external references. I can select multiple drawings at once, and then limits by filter, by layer filter, by text filter, or what limit to export. So I have the ability to extract out all my layers of my drawing. Yes, it's the same thing as doing the copy to clipboard and then pasting it into an Excel file. This just makes it a little bit easier. And then from there, I have the ability to import them. Here is first the export drawing layers. This is what I get. I get the name. Is it on? Freeze, new viewport freeze, lock, plot. Everything's in there. I do this with an Excel file. Guess what? I don't get the header, but everything's in there. I make those changes, and now I have the ability to say update drawing layers, sync or add. Again, if I say import, I pick my Excel file, and then drawing, current drawing, obviously. Sync, again, if I deleted out 5 layers but added 7, I'm going to see that in my new drawing. If I say add, it's only going to look for the new ones that are in the Excel file that are not in the actual drawing, and it'll just add those. So here's an example of the layers, unchanged layers. I have 48 in here. Oops. So I didn't create any new layers. I didn't create any new codes, deleted layers, duplicate layers. I didn't worry about that. I just brought in 48 of the exact same layers in there. So all points to all points. But again, you have the columns that will show you these are new layers, these are deleted layers, these are layers that have just been updated. Maybe I changed the color, maybe I changed the plot style, but I see all those capabilities. So let's go ahead and jump into the software. So I'm going to quickly jump into Civil 3D here, and I'm going to go through the survey template manager. Export out description key set. So if I open up my settings tab, and I go to points, and I go to the description key set, I see the Civil 3D description key set. There is my description key set, a whopping 3 codes in there. Export out, and I have the ability to export out Civil 3D or extract the Excel template. I'm going to go ahead and say extract out just the Civil 3D one. I'm going to say extract. It's going to say where do you want to save it to. I'm just going to put it on my desktop right now, and I'm going to call it demo 1206. Say save. Description key set, extraction at this location. You want to open it? Yes, I do. It's going to open up Excel for me, and there is my Excel file with the code, the point style, the block name, the point label style, and such. Now I could come in and add 5 more codes. I could delete out 2 codes in there. I can make any changes that I need to this Excel file, save it, and make those adjustments. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close that out, and now I'm actually going to create a description key set. I'm going to select an Excel file, so I'm going to say Browse, and I'm going to go to one of my data sets and description key set, and I'm going to bring in the ATG Excel file. And you can see, I'll widen this out a little bit, I have a lot more than just 3 codes in there. I have the air relief valve, I have backer curve, I have bit, building, borehole, and such. I have all these in here. So I'm going to say open. And now what I have the capability of doing is actually building a brand new description key set from this Excel file, or I have the ability to update the existing description key set. I'm going to go ahead and say update. So I'm going to update the Civil 3D, and it gives me the ability to say sync or add. I'm going to say sync, and I'm going to say include point styles and point label styles. Now what this is going to do is it's going to say, hey, this point style did not exist. I'm going to build a new one. This point label style did not exist. I'm going to build a new one. Now, is it going to build it perfectly for you? The answer is going to be yes and no. It will build it if the information is in there for you for the point style. So I'm going to say okay here, and I'm going to see a lot of blocks in here that are going to be red. What that means is I'm trying to build a point style using a block, and that block does not exist in my drawing. So it means I either need to back up a little bit, or I need to just accept the defaults. And if it doesn't, when you're building a new point style or point label style, if it doesn't find it, it's going to use, for the point style, it's going to use the basic marker. Whatever you have in your command settings for, hey, create new style, it's going to use that. When you have a create new point label style, it's going to use that. So I'm going to go ahead and just say okay for this. and it's going to come through, and it's going to say, hey, you have 48 new codes in here. And what I can see is everything that's in red does not already exist in here, in the drawing. And all my point styles are red. I do have a block name station. Hey, that one's going to come in. That one already existed. So it will build a brand new point style called BOR-CTC, and it will use the block STA. The point label styles, none of them exist. It will build the new ones, but it's going to use the command settings for the defaults of when I say create new point label style. It's not going to build this with the point number, elevation, description properly on this one, but this one's set to no display because it can't read that much information. In this case, I have vNode water that already existed, but vNode curb did not exist. It will actually build a brand new layer, basically saying copy existing or current layer, and take all those settings, and it will build 3 new curb layers, or 3 new layers, one for curb, one for bit, one for building. My parameters are all set, my fixed scales are all set, everything's all set. You can see change codes, none, unchanged codes, deleted codes, 3. So if I come in and I say execute right now, I say confirm, I have now built or modified my Civil 3D description key set to include all those codes. It's using that style, it's using that label style, everything's in there. The vNode curb, bit, bituminous, and building are all in there. But if I come into my point style, there is my brand new borehole that didn't exist because it was red. And if I look at this, edit, and I go to marker, it is using the STA block. But the catch basin block did not exist. So if I come in and edit this one, it is using the basic marker. Now what I could do is I could quickly drop in the block CB and then the block CO and CP and CS and then rerun my Excel file, and it will automatically build this in. I would recommend that if you see red, you back out of running it and then you make sure you get that information in there. It's easier to run it once than to try to keep running it 5, 6, 7 times on there. So that is the description key set, export and create. Again, the export figure prefix database does the exact same thing. Pick your figure prefix database or extract out the template. I'll just extract out the template. I'm going to call this home desktop, and we'll just call this demo 1206 FPD. We'll open it, and again, you will see an Excel file. Yes, there is my name, break line, lot line, layer, style, or site. I fill this out, I bring it back in with the create. Same concept as the description key set, so we'll just go ahead and bypass that. I'm going to open up another drawing that's using the Civil Imperial template as a starting point, and I'm going to go in and I'm going to say template tracker. And what this does is it says objects. I have the choice of layers, text styles, dimension styles, or multi-leaders. I'm going to go ahead and say layers, and I'm going to go to that C-prop bearing layer, and there are those 5 styles that are being used. If I go to hydro text, there's only 2. I can click on that one, and I can say swap layer, and now I can actually pick a different layer. I'm going to put the catchment area on the C property because it's just one below. Disappears, but now if I go to the C property, now it shows up in the C property. Pick on that one, swap layer. I'll put it on the C bearing because we knew it wasn't in the C bearing. Say OK, and now C prop bearings. Now I have 6 styles in there. Or catchment area, purge the style. Say OK. If I have the ability to purge a style because there are internal reference points in there. If there isn't one, I have that ability to delete that out. There's obviously a subsidiary dependency on that catchment area, so I can't delete that one out. We'll try to delete out purge style over that one. And as long as it's not being used, I should be able to delete it out. Purge styles, we'll see which ones I can, any of them will purge out here. Oops, can only do one at a time. Obviously, I'm picking ones that have dependencies on there or are already built into your command settings. But I have that ability to do text styles, annotative. The S4, it's being used in the block gas valve, test pit, and water valve. So if I want to delete out my text style S4, I need to replace that text style within these 3 blocks. SHR is used here, and the standard is used pretty much everywhere else. Dimension styles, here's my dimension styles, annotative, standard, and then the multi-leader styles, standard. Those aren't as critical because usually you only have 1 dimension style, 1 multi-leader style, and they use all the same ones. So that's the template tracker. I'm going to go ahead and say close. Export object layers. First off, I'm going to come into my drawing settings, and here are my object layers. So it says alignment goes on C road, but the labeling for an alignment goes onto C road text. This is what I want set up, so every time I build an alignment, I don't have to go and say, go to this layer, or go to this layer. It does it for me right off the get-go. And here's all the information that I can set my object layers for. Anything that's basically a civil object is here. So that's that. So I'm going to say cancel, and now I'm going to say export object layers. And it's going to say current drawing, or I could browse to a drawing. Maybe I want to bring in all the object layer settings from a specific project and then bring it into here. Well, I'm just going to say current drawing, and I'm going to say Excel. And again, I'm going to put it on my desktop and call it Demo 1206 OBL for object layers. Say save. Yes. Here are all my object layers. So for an alignment, it goes to C road, modifier none, value locked. So I have the ability to add that prefix or the suffix in there. Going to cancel out of there, and I'm going to set object layers. Now I have the ability to browse to that. I'm going to go desktop again. And there, oops, I didn't save it. So I'll just quickly come into here, 2018, Lair boss. And here are my Civil 3D object layers on here. So I'll just open up that one and say apply. And what this will do is it will run through everything and said, yep, here's all your alignments. Hey, your general note, yep, V-Ano does not exist. It will actually build a brand new layer called V-Ano on there. And there's V-Topo, everything's in there. So all these layers were set from the CTC template or the ATG template. So it was from the survey template. That's why there's a bunch of zeros here. And these layers didn't exist in the Civil Imperial. But it will go ahead and create those new layers, and it will reset everything. So I'm going to go ahead and say, it's okay. Reload, and from there. Go ahead and say close. Export drawing layers does the exact same thing, but now it's based off of your layers. So the 400 plus layers that you have, we have that ability. So we're going to say current drawing, external references, select drawings, limit by all used layers, or let's just go unreconciled layers, viewport overrides. We'll go all used layers on here. And we'll go ahead and say export out. There's all used. I'll just call it all used 2. Oops, we'll just call it 2 then. Yes. And here are all the layers that are being used. Again, in an Excel file, now if I want to change the color from red to white, I can just type in white. And now there, I want to change it from continuous to center 2. I can make it center 2, not center 12, but center 2. Everything's in there. Change your plot style. from color 1 to color 7, done. A little bit quicker than doing it inside the layer manager. And then this is here, so when I go from 18 to 19 and I want to rebuild my template from scratch, it's here. The benefit to this is, again, if I say save, and now I say close, update drawing layers, and I say browse, and I browse to 2, say open, current drawing, sync to drawing, I'm going to say apply, it's going to run, and it found that the CIM, the one that I was manipulating, made these changes in here. I changed it to color 7, I changed it to center 2, and it's white. I made all those updates to that one, and it's all in here. That's why I don't see new codes, as it's empty. The updated layers, I only updated the one, but I have 211 layers that are unchanged. The ability to control my layer management inside an Excel file is so much easier, because you can do that. Hey, anywhere that you see color 1, make it black 0.8 with a find and replace in Excel is so much easier than to come in and select everything in the layer manager and then make those adjustments. So a lot more tools inside Excel that make editing a lot easier than manipulating all this information inside Civil 3D directly. So those are the new tools for the CTC CIM Manager Suite. It has not been officially released yet. There's a couple tweaks in here that we want to make, but we're expecting it to be released in the near future, probably after the first of the year, definitely because of the holidays. But from that far, right now we are looking very shortly after the new year. So with that, I want to open it up to questions. If there are any questions, feel free to put them into the chat. I'll go ahead and respond to them as need be. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in, and I'll respond to them right away. If you don't, go ahead and just email me at smiszak@atgusa.com, and I will respond to them as soon as I can. So I'm not seeing any questions, so I'll go ahead and thank everyone for attending this webinar. Keep in touch on our website, atgusa.com, to look for upcoming webinars in the near future and to see the recordings of this webinar if you ever had questions or you want to go back and review. With that, I thank everyone for showing up.